Chosen one, pause everything for a moment and listen with the part of you that has survived too much to be ordinary. Something is reaching for you right now. Something timely, precise, intentional. This moment, this very message is not late, not random, not accidental. You were drawn into it because heaven needs you to hear one truth that will untangle years of quiet worry in your spirit. You are not behind. Not in your purpose, not in your progress, not in your calling, not in your destiny, not in your development. You are not late, delayed, overlooked, or forgotten. You are not running out of time. You are not missing your moment. You are not failing to catch up. You are exactly where you are supposed to be. You may not feel that way. You may feel like life has taken detours you didn't choose, pauses you didn't expect, or quiet seasons you didn't understand. You may look at your journey and see what looks like waiting, slowing, stopping, or circling. You may look at others and wonder why they are ahead, while you are still working, still healing, still rebuilding, still hoping. But heaven sees something entirely different. Heaven sees alignment. Heaven sees preparation. Heaven sees protection. Heaven sees orchestration. And God sent this message like a lantern into the darker corners of your doubt to say with divine emphasis, you are right on time. You have not lost anything that was meant for your story. You have not missed what was assigned to your destiny. You have not fallen behind the schedule of heaven. The timeline of your life has not malfunctioned. Your process is not slower than it should be. The pace you're moving at is not a punishment. The silence you endured was not abandonment. The seasons that felt still were not stagnation, but sacred calibration. Chosen one, there is a rhythm to your calling that does not match the rhythm of people around you. There is a timing over your life that does not follow human clocks. There is a divine pace tailored specifically for who you are, what you carry, and where you are going. And every time you thought you were late, God was simply leading you through a necessary layer of becoming. Feel this rise inside you. The pressure you felt was not because you were behind, but because you were being positioned. The waiting you endured was not a delay, but a divine pause while God completed something behind the scenes. The tension you felt was not punishment, but preparation. And the longing you've been carrying is a sign that your moment is approaching, not slipping away. You are not behind. You never were. And in this message, you are about to find out why. And as you let that truth settle into the places where doubt once built a quiet home, feel the weight of what comes next. This isn't just reassurance. This isn't positive thinking. This is not merely comfort for your feelings. What is being spoken over you now carries the imprint of a higher voice, a voice that has followed you through every season you thought was wasted, a voice that has seen every step you took, even in the dark, a voice that has been closer to you than your breath, even when you felt alone. This message arrives with divine origin, wrapped in intention, shaped by wisdom beyond your understanding. Because whether you sensed him or not, God has been pacing your journey with astonishing precision. He has been aligning people, shifting environments, preparing opportunities, and protecting you from roads that would have broken you long before you reached your moment. Every turn, every pause, every delay was supervised. Nothing in your timeline slipped past his awareness. You have not walked through a single chapter unnoticed. There is a timing that comes from heaven, one that doesn't bend to human anxiety or earthly pressure. God is not rushed, and he is not late. And because your life is tied to his timing, you are not late either. You are not trying to catch up to something that already moved on. You are not scrambling for what you lost. You are not being punished by slowness. You are being guided by a divine rhythm that is perfectly synced with who you are becoming. Feel the truth of that for a moment. The same God who formed galaxies and orchestrated seasons has been orchestrating your path with care. The same God who spoke light into existence has been speaking purpose into your life with intention. The same God who watches over sparrows has been watching over every detail of your development. He has been guarding your steps from misalignment, shielding your heart from premature connections, and escorting you away from people, places, and paths that would have hindered you. Heaven has been involved in your timeline from the start, and this message is heaven's confirmation that you haven't been running behind. You've been moving in sync with a divine calendar that looks nothing like the one hanging on your wall. When you thought everything was still, God was working deeply. When you felt slow, God was positioning you. When you felt unseen, God was hiding you for your protection. When you felt delayed, God was preparing a path that required your character to be stronger than your fear, your patience to be deeper than your frustration, and your faith to be sturdier than your timeline. There is something sacred about divine timing. It whispers instead of shouting. It flows instead of forcing. It unfolds instead of rushing. And now that you're hearing this, heaven is pulling back the curtain just enough for you to realize that you have never been out of sync, not for a single day. God has been holding your timeline in His hands, and every moment has carried purpose, even the ones that broke you, confused you, or stretched you. And now He speaks through this message to say with authority, with clarity, and with unwavering certainty, you are right on time, because I am right on time. Everything that comes next in this message will reveal why. And with that foundation laid in your spirit, the revelation can finally unfold. Because what God is doing in your life right now is not small, not ordinary, not accidental. There is a shift taking place around you, subtle enough to miss if you're distracted, yet powerful enough to reorder the course of your destiny. Something is being positioned. Something is being lifted. Something is being aligned. Something is being released. And though you may not see the full picture yet, heaven is already moving pieces into place. The prophecy hovering over your life is simple, but profound. Your timing is about to prove itself perfect. Everything that felt delayed is about to reveal itself as preparation. Everything that felt stalled is about to show itself as strategic. Everything you thought you lost is about to return in a form you could have never imagined. And every place you felt behind is about to become the place where God shows you you were ahead, way ahead of the enemy's plans, ahead of destruction, ahead of what could have derailed your calling. There is a moment approaching a divine intersection where what you have been waiting for will meet who you have become. The timing will be so perfect that you will look back on the years you called late and realize they were miracles dressed as delays. You will see how God protected you by slowing what would have overwhelmed you. You will see how He shielded you by withholding what you were not yet ready to carry. You will see how He prepared you by allowing seasons of obscurity, seasons of isolation, seasons of stillness that felt unfair, but were essential. And now heaven whispers, you are stepping into the time I prepared you for. You may feel it already, the quiet internal shift, the stirring in the atmosphere, the sense that something is changing without you fully understanding what it is. It feels like a gentle pull, a rising and awakening that doesn't announce itself loudly, but refuses to be ignored. It is the signal that your moment is drawing near. It is the sign that the waiting has not been wasted. It is the evidence that you are aligning with what was written for you long before you ever lived a day on this earth. Something is coming toward you that has your name on it. A blessing shaped for your hands, a breakthrough timed for your season, a door crafted for your story, an opportunity that won't fit anyone else's timeline, a destiny moment that will unfold exactly when your spirit is strong enough to hold it. Your mind is mature enough to steward it, and your heart is healed enough not to sabotage it. This is the part of the prophecy you must grasp. Your timeline is not late because your destiny was never meant to be rushed. God has been ensuring that what is meant for you will arrive only when you are capable of carrying it without breaking under its weight. You weren't delayed, you were being developed. You weren't behind, you were being built. You weren't stagnant, you were being strengthened for what's next. And what's next carries magnitude. It carries purpose. It carries transformation. It carries the kind of supernatural precision that only God could orchestrate. Doors you couldn't force open will open effortlessly. Connections you couldn't chase will enter your life without striving. Opportunities that once seemed far away will suddenly stand in front of you, like they were waiting for you the whole time. Everything you thought was slipping away will show up in a way that makes it clear it wasn't slipping, it was synchronizing. Heaven is preparing to reveal the alignment you could not see, the timing you questioned, the path you doubted, the purpose you wrestled with. Soon you will understand why the pace was what it was. Soon you will see how every quiet year was a building year. Soon you will realize why God told you no when you wanted yes. Why He closed doors you begged Him to open. Why He separated you from people you thought you needed. Why He slowed you when you wanted to run. He was not delaying your life. He was securing your destiny. And this prophecy stands firm. You are approaching a moment where everything begins to make sense. You are about to walk into a season where divine timing becomes visible. You will not just feel it, you will see it, touch it, step into it, and live in it. Your life is aligning with heaven's calendar, and heaven is right on time. And now that the prophecy has begun to unfold in your understanding, it's time to look deeper beneath the surface of events, beneath the emotions you've carried, beneath the timelines you've compared yourself to. Because what God is doing in your life right now is not just about a moment arriving. It's about the profound spiritual architecture that has shaped your journey from the inside out. To understand why you're not behind, you must understand the depth of what has been happening within you all along. There are seasons in a chosen life where nothing visible seems to be moving, yet everything spiritual is shifting beneath the ground. Like a seed buried in darkness, your progress has not always been seen, but it has always been happening. You were not stuck. You were sprouting. You were not failing. You were forming. God has been developing roots, deep, unshakable, fortified roots that could not grow if you had been rushed into visibility too soon. Because destiny cannot rest on shallow soil. Calling cannot take root in unstable ground. Purpose cannot thrive in a spirit that has not yet been strengthened by process. And so, the delays you felt were actually seasons of depth-building seasons where God was expanding your spirit, stretching your resilience and deepening your foundation, so that when your moment arrives, nothing and no one will be able to shake what He has planted in you. This is the spiritual meaning behind your timing. God grows you privately so He can trust you publicly. You were not forgotten, you were being fortified. There were storms you walked through that didn't come to destroy you, but to teach you endurance. There were heartbreaks that didn't come to punish you, but to shape your compassion. There were disappointments that didn't come to diminish you, but to refine your discernment. Every closed door sharpened your wisdom. Every delay softened your pride. Every setback trained your faith to anchor itself in something eternal instead of something temporary. This shaping has not been wasted. In the spiritual realm, timing is never measured by speed. It's measured by alignment. God doesn't ask, "Are you fast enough?" He asks, "Are you ready enough?" And readiness doesn't come from rushing, it comes from refinement. You weren't behind. You were being refined by a divine process that only those with a sacred calling walk through. Think about the seasons you felt hidden. Those weren't empty years, they were consecrated years. You were being separated from distractions, from cycles that no longer matched your destiny, from relationships that would have limited your growth. God hid you the way a craftsman hides a masterpiece that's still being painted. Not because it isn't valuable, but because it's too valuable to be shown before it is complete. There is also the rhythm of divine detours. The moments where God's hand quietly redirects your path away from danger you did not see, away from opportunities that were not meant for you, away from people whose intentions were not aligned with your purpose. What you saw as falling behind was often God's shield covering you. What felt like slowness was really protection disguised as delay. This is why comparing your timeline to others never made sense. You were never running the same race. Your pace was different because your assignment is different. Your development has been deeper because your impact will be greater. Your preparation has taken longer because what you carry requires a stronger foundation than the average person. God has been shaping you for something weighty, something that will require the exact maturity, endurance, and spiritual sensitivity you've been developing in hidden seasons. This is the deeper truth. Your timeline is spiritual, not superficial. It is aligned with heaven's seasons, not earthly clocks. Spiritually, you have been moving exactly as you were meant to. There is a divine choreography to your journey, a sacred sequencing of events that ensures nothing comes too early or too late. Had things arrived sooner, they might have crushed you. Had they arrived later, they might have missed you. But they are coming at the pace that matches your growth, your healing, your readiness. And now, as the spiritual depth of your journey becomes clearer, you can begin to see why God has been so intentional with your process. You were not delayed. You were designed. You were not behind. You were being aligned. You were not forgotten. You were being refined. Everything you've walked through has been woven into your becoming. And the beauty of divine timing is this: when God finally brings you into what He has prepared, everything will feel like it was always meant to unfold this way. The pieces will fit. The timing will make sense. The years you questioned will become the years you thank Him for. The waiting will suddenly look wise. The detours will appear divinely brilliant. And the slow seasons will reveal themselves as the very seasons that shaped your strength. This is the spiritual depth of the prophecy over your life. Your timeline has been on schedule because your spirit has been in training. And now the training is beginning to reveal its purpose. And as this depth settles into your awareness, something else begins to rise, those subtle, almost unexplainable shifts you've been sensing lately. They weren't random. They weren't coincidences. They were signals, quiet indicators, that heaven has already been preparing you for what's approaching. God never moves without giving hints, whispers, signs that those who are spiritually sensitive can recognize long before the breakthrough becomes visible. One of the clearest signs is the internal restlessness you've felt, not the anxious kind, but the spiritual kind. A gentle dissatisfaction with where you've been, not because your life is empty, but because your spirit knows more is coming. You've been feeling the quiet pull of an unseen transition. The place that once felt comfortable now feels temporary. The things that used to excite you no longer hold the same weight. This inner shift is God signaling that you are being repositioned for the next stage. Another sign is the sudden desire for clarity and simplification. You've been craving peace, order, direction. The things that drain you have become more obvious. You've been reorganizing your space, your priorities, your habits, even your relationships. This urge to declutter both physically and emotionally is not just personal preference. It is spiritual preparation. God is clearing room for what's coming. A third sign you may have noticed is a season of unexpected separations. People you thought would stay drifted away. Connections that once felt secure became distant. Relationships that were central to your life suddenly loosened or dissolved. It wasn't rejection, it was redirection. God has been removing anyone who cannot walk with you, into your next season. You weren't being abandoned. You were being protected. There is also the sign of unusual spiritual sensitivity. Your intuition has sharpened. Your dreams feel heavier, more symbolic. Your discernment has increased. You feel things before they happen. You sense the atmosphere shifting without any physical evidence. This sensitivity is a mark that heaven is drawing near, that the spiritual realm is aligning something significant on your behalf. Another sign is the return of long-buried desires or ideas. Things you thought you let go of have been resurfacing in your spirit. Old dreams feel alive again. New ideas come with unusual clarity. Passions you once shelved are stirring with fresh energy. This is God breathing life back into what you thought was over, reminding you that nothing He spoke over you has expired. And maybe the most powerful sign of all is the quiet confidence appearing beneath your fear. Even when you feel uncertain, there is a strange peace underneath it. Even when you don't know what comes next, something in you feels ready. This readiness is not your own strength. It is spiritual confirmation that your time is approaching, that heaven is closing the gap between what was promised and what is about to manifest. These signs are not random. They are divine markers. Each one is evidence that you are not behind, you are being aligned. These shifts, these stirrings, these internal changes are confirmation that God is drawing you into a moment prepared long before you ever questioned your timing. You are closer than you think, closer than you feel, closer than your doubts will admit. And every sign is heaven's way of telling you, right on time, exactly where you need to be. The moment is approaching. But with every divine alignment, there are also challenges, quiet, subtle, often misunderstood, that rise right before the breakthrough arrives. These challenges aren't signs that you're behind. They're proof that you're getting close. They are the final stretches of the spiritual journey where pressure increases not to destroy you, but to shape you for what's coming. And lately, you've felt some of these pressures pressing inward, almost as if the atmosphere around you has shifted without warning. One of the deepest challenges is the sudden emotional heaviness that comes without explanation. You wake up with thoughts that feel heavier than they should be. Moments of reflection feel deeper. Hope and doubt seem to collide in the same breath. This emotional intensity is not a setback. It is spiritual stretching. God is expanding your capacity to carry what you've been praying for. The weight you feel isn't a burden, it's a sign of approaching elevation. Another challenge is the increase in resistance, especially in areas that once felt easy. Doors that used to open require more faith. Tasks that used to flow now demand more effort. You may feel misunderstood, underestimated, or even spiritually opposed. But this resistance doesn't mean you're off track. It means you're nearing a threshold. When the enemy cannot stop what God has scheduled for your life, he often tries to distract you with frustration. The resistance is confirmation you are getting close. There is also the challenge of unusual loneliness, even when you're not physically alone. You feel detached from old environments, disconnected from old circles, and emotionally distanced from people who once felt familiar. This loneliness isn't failure, it's separation. God is pulling you inward, drawing you into solitude, so He can speak without interference. Hidden seasons often precede revealed seasons. When you feel alone, it's because heaven is building something in you that cannot be built in crowds. Another hidden challenge is the sense of spiritual silence. Your prayers feel heavier, slower. Answers feel delayed. Guidance feels faint. It's as if heaven went quiet for a moment. But silence doesn't mean absence. Silence is often the classroom of spiritual maturity. God speaks loudly to get your attention, but He speaks softly when He wants to strengthen your discernment. Silence is where He trains your spirit to recognize His timing, even when you cannot hear his voice clearly. Then there's the challenge of internal conflict, that odd tug of war between your faith and your fear. Part of you feels ready, and part of you feels uncertain. Part of you believes the promise, and part of you wonders if it's too late. This conflict is not a flaw. It is transformation. Something inside you is shedding old patterns, old doubts, old timelines. Your spirit is outgrowing the mindset that once kept you small. The conflict is evidence that you are becoming who you were meant to be. And finally, there is the challenge of patience, the most difficult refinement of all. Waiting feels harder than ever. You feel like you've already waited enough. The desire for breakthrough intensifies, and your heart longs for relief. This isn't weakness, it is spiritual awakening. Your spirit senses what is coming, and your impatience is the echo of proximity. These challenges are not punishments. They are indicators. They are shaping tools. They are signs that something is nearing completion. You are not being slowed down. You are being sharpened. You are not being denied. You are being prepared. Everything you're facing right now is a final refinement, a final strengthening, a final alignment before the next door opens. What feels challenging is actually confirmation. You are not behind. You are on the verge. And now that the challenges have been laid bare, the next layer unfolds the instructions. Because every divine moment requires preparation, every breakthrough demands alignment, and every season of timing comes with steps you must take to meet what heaven is releasing. You are not behind, but you are being called to move with intention, with clarity, with spiritual precision. What comes next is not meant to overwhelm you. It is meant to empower you. The first instruction is to release the timelines you've been comparing yourself to. Let go of the idea that you should be further, faster, or more accomplished by now. Comparison is a thief of clarity, a distortion of purpose, a distraction from what God is actually doing in your life. Heaven is calling you to lay down the pressure you've placed on yourself. Your path is custom-built. Your timing is sacred. Free your spirit from the weight of other people's journeys so you can step fully into your own. The second instruction is to reclaim your focus. Your attention has been pulled in many directions by responsibilities, by expectations, by fears, by people who need pieces of you that drain your energy. This is the time to recalibrate. God is calling you to concentrate on what matters most, not everything that makes noise around you. Clarity comes when distractions are silenced. Focus is the doorway into alignment. Protect your attention as if it were treasure, because in this season, it is. The third instruction is to nurture your spiritual sensitivity. Pay attention to the internal nudges, the moments of hesitation, the sudden clarity that comes out of nowhere. These subtle signals are not random. They are communication from the divine. When something feels off, pause. When something feels right, lean in. Heaven speaks through intuition, discernment, and inner knowing. Strengthen this sensitivity by grounding yourself in prayer reflection, meditation, and quiet moments where your soul can breathe. The fourth instruction is to prepare your environment for what's coming. Blessings do not fall into clutter. Breakthroughs do not land in chaos. There is a reason you've felt the urge to clean, organize, simplify, and release certain things. Physical preparation often mirrors spiritual preparation. Make space emotionally, mentally, physically for the new. When you show God you are ready to receive, you align yourself with what He is sending. The fifth instruction is to let go of what cannot come with you. This includes old habits, limiting beliefs, unhealthy connections, outdated mindsets, and patterns that kept you small. Some things were only meant for an earlier version of you. Some relationships were meant for a past season, not the next one. Some ways of thinking were built for survival, not destiny. Release them with grace. Elevation requires separation, and letting go is sometimes the most sacred act of obedience. Another instruction is to embrace movement without waiting for perfect clarity. Some steps you're being asked to take won't make sense until after you take them. God often reveals the path one step at a time, not because He wants to confuse you, but because He wants you to trust Him. If you wait for absolute certainty, you may miss divine timing. Move when you feel the nudge. Move when your spirit whispers yes. Move when the opportunity feels strangely aligned. Progress often comes before understanding. The seventh instruction is to speak life over your timeline. Your words carry power, and what you declare shapes your reality more than you know. Stop speaking delay. Stop speaking defeat. Stop speaking I'm behind. Begin speaking alignment, readiness, and divine timing. Affirm what heaven has already written. Your mouth is a gate. Guard it with intention. Declare what you want to see, not what you fear is happening. And finally, the most important instruction in this season is to trust the pace of God. Trust the pauses, the shifts, the redirections, the doors that opened unexpectedly, and the ones that stayed shut. Trust the people who came and the ones who left. Trust the path even when it winds. Trust the timing even when it stretches your faith. Trust that God knows the exact moment your breakthrough must arrive to protect you, elevate you, and fulfill what He promised. You are not being asked to do everything at once. You are being asked to move with intention, to respond with faith, to walk in alignment. These instructions are not burdens. They are invitations. Invitations to step into a season where your timing synchronizes with heaven's timing, where your preparation meets God's orchestration, where your obedience meets divine release. This is the moment where you shift from waiting to readiness, from questioning to trusting, from hoping to preparing. Because what God is sending is on schedule, and He wants you aligned with its arrival. You are not behind, you are being positioned. And as you hold these instructions in your heart, there is something else you need to feel. Something steady. Something anchoring. Something that wraps around your spirit like a quiet shield. Because even when you follow the guidance, even when you prepare, even when you align yourself with divine timing, the journey can still feel uncertain. And God knows this. He knows the weight of transition. He knows the vulnerability of becoming. He knows the tension that rises when you are on the edge of a breakthrough, which is why He does not leave you uncovered. There is a protection over your life right now that has been building long before you sensed it. You may not always see it, but you have felt it in the near misses, in the close calls, in the things that could have harmed you, but didn't. God has been shielding you from battles you never had to fight, from people who never got close enough to wound you, from opportunities that looked enticing, but were traps in disguise. His protection has been subtle, quiet, precise, but it has been constant. You are surrounded by a hedge that cannot be breached by anything not assigned to your destiny. Every attack that formed against you but never reached you was evidence of this. Every betrayal that exposed itself early was part of this. Every door that shut before you entered it was divine security, not rejection. God has been guarding your path so tightly because what you are stepping into carries weight, and the enemy cannot be allowed to interfere with the timing or the shape of what is coming. And He wants you to know this deeply: you are not walking into your next season unprotected. There are angels assigned to your journey. There is favor covering you like a cloak. There is spiritual reinforcement standing on every side. There is a peace that will begin to settle over you, not the kind that ignores reality, but the kind that transcends it. A peace that reminds you that you are not walking into the unknown alone. A peace that reassures you that heaven is involved in every step. This protection also shows up in your intuition. When something feels wrong, that is God guiding you. When your spirit suddenly feels unsettled, that is heaven pulling you away from danger. When you feel a quiet no inside, that is divine defense. You are being led, guarded, and protected in ways that go beyond human understanding. And there is assurance woven into this protection. You cannot miss what God has ordained. Not by accident, not by delay, not by confusion, not by fear. What is written for you cannot be stolen, replaced, or rerouted. Your destiny is safeguarded. Your timing is safeguarded. Your purpose is safeguarded. Even the parts of the journey you didn't understand were covered by grace. This means you no longer need to carry the fear of slipping behind. You no longer need to fear missing your moment. You no longer need to fear that someone else will take what was meant for you. You no longer need to fear the unknown. Heaven has already gone ahead of you. Heaven has already prepared the path. Heaven has already cleared obstacles you don't even know existed. Heaven has already positioned what belongs to you in a place only you can reach. And as you step forward slowly, courageously, faithfully, this protection will move with you. It will cover your steps. It will surround your decisions. It will shield your spirit. It will anchor your peace. You are not behind because you have never walked unprotected. God has guarded your development, your delays, your decisions, and your destiny. You are safe. You are covered. And you are being guided into perfect timing. And with that covering wrapped around your spirit, something begins to shift inside you. Not the small kind of shift that comes and goes with emotion, but the deep, unmistakable shift that marks the turning of a spiritual season. Because the moment you understand divine timing, the moment you recognize protection, the moment you align with instruction, transformation becomes inevitable. You begin to step into what you were always meant to become. This transformation does not happen all at once, but you've already felt it stirring within you. Your thoughts are changing. Your desires are purifying. Your awareness is sharpening. You no longer settle for what once satisfied you. You no longer cling to what once held you back. You no longer move with the uncertainty that used to weigh down your decisions. There is a quiet strength rising in you, one that wasn't built through ease, but through endurance. One shaped in hidden seasons, in silent battles, in prayers whispered through tired breath. You are becoming a version of yourself that could not have existed without the journey you walked. A wiser version, a stronger version, a more spiritually attuned version, a version capable of stewarding the blessings and responsibilities that once felt too heavy. What once would have overwhelmed you will now feel aligned. What once would have scared you will now feel like purpose. What once seemed impossible will now feel natural. And as this transformation unfolds, something else happens, the fulfillment of timing. The very thing you thought was delayed begins to reveal itself as perfectly aligned. Doors begin to open with unusual smoothness, almost as if they were waiting for you to catch up, though in truth, they were waiting for you to grow into them. Opportunities that once felt far away suddenly find their way into your life. Conversations, connections, and moments that seemed random begin to fit together with divine precision. You start to see the fingerprints of God in places you once saw emptiness. You begin to understand the purpose of the seasons that confused you. You recognize why certain prayers were answered slowly, why certain relationships ended, why certain paths were blocked. It becomes clear that if things had happened earlier, the weight of them might have crushed you. But now you are ready. The timing that once frustrated you becomes the very thing you thank God for. The delays that once made you question yourself become the foundation of your strength. The detours that once felt like punishment become the proof that heaven was guiding you all along. You start to see not only what God protected you from, but what He was preparing you for. And fulfillment is not just about receiving something, it's about becoming someone. It's about stepping into alignment with the version of you that God always knew was possible. It's about inhabiting a life you once only prayed for. It's about recognizing that you did not miss your moment. You matured into it. This is the moment where clarity meets calling, where preparation meets purpose, where timing meets transformation. You will feel it in your spirit before you see it with your eyes. A sense of arrival, a sense of readiness, a sense of divine orchestration that flows through your days with an unmistakable grace. And when fulfillment begins to unfold, and it will, you will know without doubt that you did not fall behind. You were being shaped. You were being aligned. You were being prepared for something too sacred to be rushed. This transformation is your emergence. This fulfillment is your confirmation. And the life you are stepping into will carry the evidence that God was on time with every detail. You will rise into this next season knowing that nothing was wasted. Nothing was delayed. Nothing was lost. Everything was synchronized. Everything was intentional. Everything was preparing you for the moment that is now approaching your moment to step fully into who you were created to be. And now that the weight of this message has settled into the deepest parts of you, there is one more thing heaven wants to leave with you. A final seal. A final breath of truth. A final reminder that what has been spoken over your life is not just encouragement, but alignment. You are stepping into a chapter where everything begins to converge, your growth, your healing, your resilience, your faith. And as you stand on the threshold of this next season, you need words you can return to. Words that anchor you. Words you can declare over yourself when doubt tries to whisper again. These affirmations are not just sentences. They are spiritual declarations. Speak them with intention. Speak them with belief. Speak them until they become part of your identity. Affirmation 1. I am right on time. Nothing in my life is late. Let this truth override every fear that once told you otherwise. You are exactly where you were meant to be. Affirmation 2. Every delay was divine preparation for what I am stepping into now. You didn't lose anything. You were being shaped for something greater. Affirmation 3. What God has for me cannot be taken rushed or missed. This is your protection. This is your assurance. This is your confidence. Affirmation 4. I walk into my next season aligned, prepared, and covered. You move forward with heaven's backing, heaven's timing, and heaven's favor. Let these words live inside you. Repeat them until they feel like truth in your bones. You are stepping into a new season, not with fear, but with clarity. Not with pressure, but with purpose. Not with uncertainty, but with the steady awareness that God has been orchestrating every step long before you understood why the journey looked the way it did. And now receive this blessing spoken over your timeline, your destiny, your growth, your next steps. May every place where you once felt behind now reveal itself as perfectly aligned. May every unanswered question find its meaning in due time. May every closed door prove it was protecting you, not blocking you. May your spirit rise with renewed strength, unshakable confidence, and holy expectation. May you walk into your next chapter with peace covering your mind, clarity guiding your steps, and favor going before you. I bless your timeline with divine synchronization. I bless your spirit with rest from striving. I bless your heart with the assurance that God has never been late. And I bless your future with fulfillment so precise, so timely, so beautiful, that you will look back and say, now I understand. Now it all makes sense. God was on time with everything. You are not behind. You never were. Your life is right on schedule, and heaven is already opening the next chapter. Walk forward knowing this. You are aligned. You are ready, and you are stepping into perfect timing.